Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I will bring you the tea. Welcome to Chronicle Speaks.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
Look at you.
So we are here. We are present for day number 23 of Sean P. Diddy Combs' trial. But let's first recap day number 22. So yesterday marked the final day of testimony from Diddy's ex-girlfriend, known to the court as Jane. Her time on the stand was intense, emotional, disturbing, long, and yesterday was no different. Now, the defense continued to grill Jane, revisiting incidents from her relationship with Sean Combs, including a January 2024 trip to Vegas. Jane testified that during a break in their relationship, she flew to Vegas on a private jet with a well-known rapper and his wife.
You ain't accustomed to going through customs, you ain't been nowhere, huh?
At the party, she ran into Anton, an entertainer she and Combs had previously hired for their hotel nights. Now, although she didn't tell Combs about it, he later found messages referencing that trip, and he exploded in anger, accusing her of going to another man's freak off. We would hear about all of these breaks that the couple would take, and while she was gone, we were all cheering for her like, "Run, big brother, your life is hell." But no. Jane kept running back, and every time she went back, she had to run right back to a freak-off. Jane spoke about how Combs used her financial dependence against her, threatening to stop paying her rent whenever she resisted participating in the hotel nights. Jane admitted that she stayed in the relationship longer than she wanted because she felt trapped financially, emotionally, and psychologically. She closed her testimony by saying she did not come forward for money. She was subpoenaed. She was asked, would you give all the money back to not have sex with those men? And she answered, yes. With Jane's testimony now complete, the prosecution plans to call more witnesses before resting their case sometime next week. The next two witnesses expected to take the stand is a federal agent as well as Jonathan Perez, who worked as an assistant to Combs when he was dating Jane between 2021 to 2024. We are going to get into day number 23, but before we do, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any news regarding this case and so much more. Now let's get back into it. So first things first, we spoke a couple of days ago about Sean Combs' legal team attempting to argue that a series of June 23rd, 2024 messages he sent to his staff members regarding the discovery of a phone referred to as Device 1 were protected under attorney-client privilege. However, the government and later the court has rejected their claims, stating that Combs merely asked the staffer for his lawyer's phone number and shared what he believed was a significant discovery. The messages did not reflect a collaborative effort to seek legal advice, nor did the staffer act in a role necessary to interpret or facilitate attorney communication. Legal precedent requires that privileged communication must be made for the purpose of obtaining legal counsel, which the court ruled was not the case. As a result, the messages about Device 1 are not shielded and can be used in court. Second thing I want to cover is Sean Combs' legal team submitted a request to the judge to issue a NAPU instruction to the jury, acknowledging that the government's witness, Brianna Bongolan, gave false testimony. Specifically, they want the jury told that Bongolan lied when she claimed Combs caused her leg, back, and neck injuries all on the same day, September 26, 2016. They want the following read from the court to the jury sometime today. The government elicited materially false testimony from Brianna Bongolan about the alleged balcony incident, specifically when she testified that she received injuries to her legs, back, and neck at the same time, and that these injuries were all caused by Mr. Combs on the same day she took photographs of her leg injuries, September 26, 2016. This is not true. Okay, before court even got a chance to get started today, defense attorneys and prosecutors are arguing about the testimony of the next expected witness, a special agent involved in the search of Sean P. Diddy Combs' Los Angeles home in March 2024. Now, the agent is expected to testify about the guns recovered from the home security room. Defense attorney Mark Ignifilo argued that one of the agents who initially recovered the guns should testify about exactly where they were found, rather than an agent who dealt with the guns later during the search and process. Prosecutor Maureen Comey said it may not be possible to establish which agent could testify about that because the team of agents who cleared the sprawling property are not tasked with cataloging evidence, so they don't keep track of who cleared what before the search team took over. Ignifilo said he wanted the jury to hear where the guns were responsibly maintained by a professional security service behind a locked door. Judge Subramanian said the agent can testify about the guns found in the security room that house a gun safe, and the defense can cross-examine him. So let's talk about what's going on with juror number 6. So Judge Arun Subramanian has turned to prosecutors' previous request to dismiss one of the jurors, juror number 6, a request made after they said they found there appeared to be lack of candor with the court from the juror. Now, Subramanian said there was a question of the juror's residence and confirmed they established that he's met the qualifications to be in the jury pool and lived in the jurisdiction at least at the time of the jury selection. The juror moved out of the Bronx in the past 2 weeks, Subramanian said. Subramanian also said that this came up only because of a friendly banter the juror had with the jury staff members who informed the court out of caution. Defense attorney Mark Ignifilo said it no longer seems to be an issue, and the juror has been part of a diligent panel that's been engaged and cooperative throughout the trial. The judge also pushed back on a previous accusation from one of the defense attorneys this week that said that this was a thinly veiled effort to dismiss a black juror. Subramanian said there's been no evidence and no showing of any kind of biased conduct from the prosecution. Assistant U.S. Attorney Mitzi Steiner said the juror has said multiple things that cannot all be true, and the most prudent thing to do would be to get to the bottom of the issue through additional inquiry. Defense attorney Alexandra Shapiro said further inquiry would be harassing the juror, who she said would feel singled out and picked on if he's subject to individual questioning again. Shapiro says the defense waives the issue on appeal. When Shapiro suggested the judge ask Combs if he wanted to waive, Combs waved his arms and said, "Waiving, Your Honor." The judge at first said he'd like to hear more from the juror because he thinks there will be a perfectly innocent explanation, but he said he'd think about it more further. Subramanian says if he opts to question the juror, he'll do it at the end of the day after the panel has been dismissed. Combs' mother is so far the only one of his relatives in the court today. He said hello to her and he blew her a kiss. So finally at 9:46 a.m., the jury finally walks in. The judge says, "All rise. Jurors, you can see we're only 50 minutes late today, so we are doing better." He smiles. Prosecutor Comey says we introduced the following exhibits. These are all under seal. E331, BRC, FRHR, etc., all under Your Honor's pseudonym order. Before one witness comes in, we introduce these text messages involving Christina Coram. So according to the reading, Combs texts his then Chief of Staff, Christina Coram, in November 2023, saying in part, "Make sure Robin is not doing anything dumb like not having her rent paid on time. Can you make sure it's paid for this month, please?" According to previous testimony, Robin was Combs' accountant, and Jane, who dated Combs from 2021 to 2024, testified in this case saying that Robin handled the rent for her home. Now, the testimony indicated Combs paid for Jane's rent for a Los Angeles home from 2023 to present day. Coram responded according to the text messages read today. Robin said her rent was paid. Another message chain read today was between Combs' then girlfriend Cassie Ventura and D-Rock, one of Combs' security, in 2017. "My bathroom door is broken. He's blaming me for going to someone else's house when I pulled over to see if I was being followed, and I was. Ventura texted him, he has my keys, so I'm leaving. I do not feel safe. I'm not effing with anyone else." She later messaged him that 3 of the doors were broken. "You know I can't take your keys from him," D-Rock said in a later message. "He is here. You are there. I think that's the best thing for now." The judge says thank you. The government may now call its next witness. The government calls Special Agent Andre Limon. "Where do you work?" says the government. "HSI in Los Angeles in the Human Trafficking Unit." "Do you execute search warrants?" "Yes, 50 or 60 so far." "Did you search 200 South Mapleton Drive, LA?" "Yes, HSI New York asked HSI LA to be involved. We executed the search warrant." "Here's an exhibit. Please publish it." "South Mapleton Drive." "Okay, and Mr. Limon, what are these other buildings?" "Sauna, recording studio." "What rooms were searched?" "All." "It's a large property. I went through the objects that we seized, then entered them into our case management system. We moved to enter into evidence these exhibits." "Objection," says Ignifilo. Sidebar. Okay, and so now we're back from sidebar. The exhibits are submitted, says the judge. What are these, says prosecution? The floor plans of 200 South Mapleton. How do you know they are accurate? I was there. How many manila envelopes were there in the nightstand? 6. What was written on them? K. Published the stipulation. Testing determined in the K envelope with a shamrock on it was ketamine. Was there a safe in the closet? Yes, it's gray. There it is in the photo. What was in the safe? A passport for Sean Combs and a plastic bag with substances in it. Stipulation at paragraph 15 to 16. Testing found from the brown pebbles was MDMA. What's in the bag? Johnson & Johnson baby oil, Astroglide, and some lingerie. Where else was Astroglide and baby oil found? In the bathroom? In the garage? Show the photos. It's a bookcase full of baby oil and drawer full of Astroglide. Next photo, boxes marked Astroglide, 24 boxes. Where were these boxes of Astroglide? In the garage. Overall, how many bottles of baby oil did you find? 200. How many bottles of Astroglide in 200 South Mapleton? 900. Let's turn to the firearms found in the residence. What are these? A Ruger, a Glock pistol, and an AR-15 platform. Show the photo. What is this? A Smith & Wesson rifle on the chair, 3 30-round magazines. There, that's a 5.11 bag. What's that? Just a bag. And this, rifles and a Mossberg shotgun. And this, a drum magazine, large capacity. This one was a 60 rounds. It had 59 rounds of green tip ammunition in it. And let me ask you this, what does green tip ammunition do? It is designed to pierce body armor. Could you go look at the boxes of firearms in the cart next to you? Lamone does. He goes off the mic. Lamone says the serial numbers where they existed matched up. Did any of the firearms not have serial numbers? One did not. This one, he holds up a long gun. How are serial numbers eliminated? Sand it off with a machine. It's smooth, not like it was ever with a screwdriver. No further questions. Judge says, Mr. Ignifilo? Ignifilo says, you are aware that Mr. Combs has security, right? Yes, and every gun and piece of ammo was recovered from the security office, right? Yes, there were no guns in kids' bedrooms, right? None. Was the security office door locked? Not when I got there, but before, isn't it important? Did it have a lock? It had a knob. Lock? I don't know. You have no reason to think the safe was open before you got there? No. We brought a locksmith, but I didn't see him touch that safe. We're in Manhattan. We don't know a lot about guns. Sorry. Withdrawn, says the judge. This was a gun safe? Designed for that, yes. Why not photo of opening it? SRT goes in first. So because of this protocol, we don't have any photographs? So you use a body cam? No. In your human trafficking work, have you ever dealt with Astroglide before? Only in this case. Okay, Ignifilo starts to chuckle. No comment, please, says the judge. So the baby oil was in the garage? It was the Astroglide in the garage. You're from LA? Yes. Enjoy. No further questions. Prosecution says no redirect. Now it's time for a break. Now we're back from break. Jonathan Perez, who used to be Diddy's ex-assistant, has wished to invoke the fifth. Do you intend to assert that right as explained, says prosecution? Yes.
I plead the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Judge says, I will enter the order of immunity. Prosecution says, my colleagues tell me Mr. Combs has been nodding during the cross. Please instruct him. Brian Steele says, it is my affirmation Mr. Combs has done nothing inappropriate. Judge says, all right, very good. We had an exchange about this a few days ago. There's going to be some amount of reaction to testimony that is given. It is impossible to police all of it. At 11:28, Kanye West has entered the building.
Here I go, here I go, here I go.
Kanye, why are you here?
Baby, New York is not a real place. Did that man just say, tell him the truth, bro? Tell him she was a freak.
Why are you here?
Ye came in with all white pants and jacket. Security was along with him. One forgot the token they give you to pick up your phone when you leave. He went back and got it. So at 11:35, Combs is seated. He's surrounded and speaking to Ignifilo, Westmoreland, and Donaldson, who who was in the lobby waiting for Kanye West to come in. The trial now resumes. Judge says, all rise. The jury enters. Government may call its next witness. The government calls Jonathan Perez. Witness takes the stand in a brown tie and brown shirt. Where are you from? Fort Lauderdale, Florida. What was your work? Personal assistant to Mr. C. Sean Combs. From when? December 2021 to September 2024. How did you learn of the job? KK reached out to me, Christina Coram. I had interviewed with her for the same job. KK told me to go to Miami for a trial. What do you mean? To try the job for a week. I passed the test. I got hired. What was your job? Making sure he had materials for meeting, buying gifts. Where did you work? LA and Miami. Did KK and Mr. Combs appear to be personal friends too? It would depend on the day, yes. And you and Mr. Combs? First 6 months, little interaction. It was KK who'd give me instructions. Then from Mr. Combs? Yes. And just like that, Kanye West has left the courthouse. He arrived at the courthouse about 40 minutes ago and asked if he was there to support Sean P. Diddy Combs, in which he nodded yes. So back in the courtroom, we have Jonathan Perez on the stand. He used to be a personal assistant to Sean Combs from December 2021 to September 2024. He's testified that his annual salary started at $85,000 a year, and he was later brought up to $100,000 a year. Christina Coram, then Combs' chief of staff, was Perez's direct supervisor, he said. Coram and Combs seemed to have a good working relationship, and on some days it seemed like they had a good personal relationship as well. Perez's typical hours were 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and another personal assistant would work the night shift once he was finished, he said. Combs typically had 3 or 4 personal assistants. Coram made him aware of the King Nights, which Perez described as Combs going to a hotel to have party time with a female. Jane, who testified in this trial under a pseudonym and dated Combs from 21 to 24, would accompany Combs at hotels for King Nights while Perez worked for Combs, Perez said. When asked, Perez described Jane as Combs' female friend companion. I'm not sure exactly. Combs' staff would get anywhere from 2 hours to a full day's notice to set up King Nights, Perez said. Whichever assistant was working in the evening would typically set up King Nights. Perez typically worked during the day, so he estimates that he only set up about 5 King Nights for Combs. It was a lot of packing material, making sure that he was going to have everything he would need for 12 to 24 hours without having to bother anybody. Perez brought food, liquor, music, red lights, rubbers, lubricant, and sometimes honey. He said honey enhances the man's libido. Perez said he sometimes also went to SEX stores to purchase adult outfits and high heels. He would pay for the items on his company card or with cash he got from security. Now he's speaking about how a videographer found a video of Jane and another man engaging in sexual activity. Perez said the video was on an iPad usually used by Combs' staff, and Combs could be seen in the background, Perez said. Perez said he took the iPad and told Combs and Christina Coram, Combs' chief of staff, separately about the video that day. He testified that Combs seemed surprised when he told him about the video. Coram told Perez that the next time he should give the footage directly to her and she'd deal with Combs. About 6 months later, Coram questioned Perez about the video and how it was found. She told Perez she had got a call from someone outside the company talking about the video in some capacity. A recording of the conversation was recovered from Coram's phone, which was seized in 2024. Perez testified he didn't know he was being recorded at the time, and the jury is now hearing the recording. Audio is played and then stopped. Whose voice did you hear, Mr. Perez? KK. Audio of KK. Both times the only person at the house who knew about it was you. Audio of KK continues. Where did you find it? Perez said, Brandon, the shooter, who was the videographer. Prosecutor says, was that you? Yes, and he's the videographer. Brandon was like, something is on the iPad. I shouldn't see it. And then KK says, was there anyone else in the theater? Maybe Gio. We have camera footage of who was in the house, Christina said. Perez said, I went to PD about it, meaning Puff Daddy. Said, you can delete it. He said, okay, and deleted it. Then I told you. KK said, did you hear anyone else in the house talk about it? Did anyone else ever bring it up again? No, says Perez. Rob talked about it, but he said he didn't want to see it. Prosecution says, why did you not want to delete it? It wasn't my role, says Perez. Perez in audio says it should be an investigation. Mr. Combs thought he might be compromised in some way. His phone data. Prosecution says, let's pull up the next one for the jury. Perez says, I told Rob I found something private on the iPad. He said he didn't want to know. KK says, was there anyone else in the theater except for you all and Gio? No. Was Chef K in the theater? No. Why didn't you say Chef K was there? I just wanted to minimize things. Did anyone ask you again? Yes, Fahim did. Ask me what happened when I found the video of Jane. Are you aware of how Fahim knew? No, I don't. Now it's time for a break. They're back from lunch, but before the jury is brought in, Combs' attorney Xavier Donaldson says, Your Honor, wanted us to address juror number 6. Judge says we can do that another time. Comey says, after Mr. Perez, we have exhibits to introduce so we can get our summary charts together over the weekend. Judge says, all rise. The jurors enter. Prosecutor Smizer says, Mr. Perez, were you subpoenaed and do you have an immunity agreement? Yes. Let me show you this. What is it? Mr. Combs' Gucci pouch. What was in the Gucci pouch? DRUGS and money. Now some text. Between whom? Me and Rob. Rob says, will you locate his Gucci pouch in his bathroom? What did you say? I text there was no residue and I didn't steal any Addy. Laugh out loud. Meaning what? Adderall? As part of your employment, did you have any role in obtaining DRUGS? A handful of times, yes. I'd purchase or grab them from somebody outside. Who were you getting the DRUGS for? Mr. Combs. Which DRUGS? Cocaina, Xanax, Molly? How did you pay for the DRUGS? Cash. Where did you get the cash? Security or the Gucci pouch? Who in security? Fahim. What did your text here say? I text Fa, I need $700 for Guido for DRUGS. In this text, I text, I'm still waiting for the funds from TriStar, Mr. Combs' business manager. Who'd you contact with at TriStar? Robin Greenhill. Did you get a FaceTime from Mr. Combs from Jane's house? Yes. I dropped him at Jane's house with his supplies. Then he called me a couple of hours later. How did Mr. Combs appear in the FaceTime? Angry and annoyed. Could you see Jane's face? No, she was turned away. What did Mr. Combs ask? For me to say if there had been any other female on a trip he had been on, I said no. Had there been? No. How did you react during the FaceTime? Pretty normal, I thought. What did you do? I told Fahim and KK that Mr. Combs was arguing with his girl, that I was going to go pick him up. What is this? Messages between me, Fahim, and Sean Combs. June 20th, 2024. I wrote, I need cash for the guests, ASAP. Do you know what the money was for? No. Okay, now we heard previous testimony from Jane that Jonathan Perez was the assistant who helped set up the date night with Sean Combs last year. That date devolved into an argument when Jane accused Combs of taking another woman with him on a trip to Wyoming. The couple then physically fought. Jane testified, after which Combs allegedly forced her to perform sex acts on another man in a freak-off. Jonathan then confirmed that he was told to pick up his boss, Sean Combs, from a date night that went terribly wrong last year and bring a large sum of cash for Combs' girlfriend, known to the court as Jane. Need $3,500 cash ASAP for his guests. Perez wrote to a text shown to the jury. I'm going to take it to her. This account corroborates Jane's previous testimony that Combs physically assaulted her, a fight she acknowledged she instigated. He called an adult film star to her house for a freak-off. Jane said she protested and alleged that Combs made her let the man in, gave her an ecstasy pill, and ordered her to perform oral sex on the unwanted visitor. According to Mr. Perez, he never saw Sean Combs strike a woman or anyone during his 3 years as the producer's assistant, he said under cross-examination. Perez agreed with the defense attorney Brian Steele that Combs dated many women at the same time, but said he didn't hear Jane argue with his boss about other women. The defense tried to paint Jane as an extremely jealous woman who was less upset about her freak-offs with Sean Combs than she was about his relationships with other women. Why did you leave working for Mr. Combs? To avoid a situation like this. How do you feel about Mr. Combs? Great, the same way as when I worked there. No further questions. Judge says, Mr. Steele? Mr. Steele says, Mr. Combs is a motivator, yes? He is. Have you seen Mr. Combs cry? Let me show you something. Give me 1 second. Your Honor, may I hand him a book? Yes, you may. 3605 material. Perez says, I can't remember if he was crying, but this does remind me that he was upset. Look again. It does not refresh, no. Okay, you say that there was a lot going on. Do you remember the March searches? Yes. You saw the news? Yes. Have you been in the bedroom at 2 Star? Yes. Did you ever see any guns there? No. Did you ever see him with firearms? Never. I only saw security with them. Because he's a man of note, right? Yes. He is a man respected in many fields. Objection, says prosecution. I'll ask this. Have you worked with any other celebrities? Yes. And many of them have security, right? They do. You mentioned Jane. Was she nice to you? Yes. You called Wild King nights personal nights, right? Yes. Mr. Combs worked long hours, right? Yes. Because you worked out of his home, sometimes business and personal got mixed, right? Correct. Setting up King nights, was that business or personal? Personal. And buying DRUGS? I'm not saying you did it often, but was that personal too, right? Yes. And buying lingerie for Jane? Personal? Yes, personal. Did Jane always appear to you to be a willing participant in the Wild King nights? Objection. Overruled. Yes, always. A small amount of DRUGS, personal use? Objection. That's sustained. Can you estimate percentages of your work, business and personal? I say personal was about 1%. Mr. Combs needed help connecting his Bluetooth? Yes. He wasn't very tech savvy? No, he was not. Mr. Combs was working on an album pretty hard, right? Yes. You said that you, KK, and Mr. Combs were pretty close? Yes. But you're not saying it was sexual. I am not. The argument you saw on FaceTime, it was a verbal argument, not physical as you saw it, right? Right. You learned it was about jealousy? Yes. Jane was very jealous? Objection. Sustained. You are about the same age as Jane. Yes. Was Jane a strong and independent woman? Yes. You made purchases in SEX stores with the company credit card? I did. But you don't know if Mr. Combs paid? I don't. The hotel was put in your name, the one you had to go set up, right? Yes. And if the room was registered as Sean Combs, there might be cameras outside, right? Right. We propose this exhibit. Objection. Do we need a sidebar, says judge? There are a number of objections. We probably do need a sidebar, Your Honor. Okay, time for sidebar. Okay, and now they're back from sidebar. Judge says you may proceed, but without showing this exhibit to the public in the gallery. Still says, so Mr. Perez. Prosecution says, make sure all screens are turned off. Still says, these are between you and Jane. What did you say to her? I was setting up a Wild King night. She was telling me what to get. Still says she is cooperating and setting it up. Here the chef says he's making avocado toast. She asked for hot tea and honey to go with heart emojis, and you replied, I loved it. And you wrote, I wrote, have a good flight and dinner. I want photos of you and the voluntarily redacted. It says gang. Still says she wrote to you, he's looking for smoke, and you wrote, coming. Yes. Your Honor, I don't have any further questions, says Steele. Judge says, Ms. Smizer? Smizer says, was getting those things for Jane part of your job? Yes. Did you ever set up Wild King nights on vacation? No. We can turn the public screens back on. Thank you. This item, new hookah, is that personal? Not necessarily. And the baby oil? Personal? Part of your job? Yes. It was Tri-State, which designated the payments, not you, right? Right. Nothing further. Thank you. Let me see attorneys at sidebar, says judge. And just like that, the jury is dismissed for the weekend. But Juror 6 is dismissed permanently. This just in. At the conclusion of court on Friday, Judge Arun Subramanian dismissed Juror number 6 over inconsistencies in statements he made about where he lived, raising questions of candor and ability to follow instructions. In an offhand remark to the court staff, the juror mentioned that he moved in with his girlfriend in New Jersey and had been living there for most of the time. When questioned by the court, the juror said actually he was spending 4 to 5 nights in his New York apartment. Subramanian said in follow-up questions, the juror said he moved to where his daughter lives with his girlfriend in New Jersey. During jury selection, this juror had answered in response to the simple and straightforward questions, where do you live or who do you live with? Bronx, with his fiance and daughter, Subramanian said. While this may seem trivial, the judge said it raises concerns about the juror's basic qualifications, the juror's candor, and whether he made a deliberate attempt to get himself onto the jury. The changing answers and inconsistency gives the court worry about deception and lying, which further implicate the veracity of other answers, including to questions that go to the heart of the case. Subramanian said that removal of this juror is required in this court's view. Defense attorney Xavier Donaldson lamented this case of a black juror because he says there are not enough black and Hispanic individuals serving on juries. So what I need to do is hear from you. What do you think about everything currently going on in the life of Sean P. Diddy Combs? Also, what do you think about Kanye making his special guest appearance, honey, cleaning his all white? Leave a comment and you know how we do. We'll talk about it down below. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching, but before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of my new episodes.